Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, text number 51. Shri Shuka Uvacha Etat Shrutva Mahabhago Vasudevo Atis Vismitaha Devaki cha Mahabhaga Jahatur Moham Atmana. Shri Shuka Uvacha Etat Shrutva Mahabhago वसुदेवोऽति विस्मितः देवकी च महाभागा जहतुर्मोहमात्मना श्रीशुक उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा महाभागो वसुदेवो अतिविस्मितः देवकी च महाभागा जहतुर्मोहमात्मना श्रीशुक उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा महाभागो वसुदेवो अतिविस्मितः देवकी च महाभागा जन्तुमोहात्मना श्रीशुक उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा महाभागो वसुदेवो अतिविस्मितः देवकी च महाभागा जहतुर्मोहमात्मना श्रीशुक उवाच त्वा महाभागो श्रीशुक उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा महाभागा वासुदेवो विस्मिता देवकी महात्मना word to word meaning Sri Shuka Uvacha Sri Shukdev Goswami said Etat this Shrutva having heard Mahabhaga the greatly fortunate Vasudevaha King Vasudev Ati Vismitaha extremely amazed Devaki Mother Devaki Cha and Mahabhaga the greatly fortunate Jahatu they both gave up Moham the confusion Atmanaha their own. Translation Sri Shukdev Goswami continued, having heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudev was completely struck with wonder. Thus, he and his most blessed wife Devaki gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. Since there is no purport, we'll go to the next shloka. इतिहासम् इमं पुण्यं धारयेत् यः समाहितः स विधूयेह शमलं ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते. Translation Anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will purify himself of all contamination in this very life and thus achieve the highest spiritual perfection. Since there is no purport for this, we'll go ahead with summary to chapter 6. Chapter 6 entitled The Yadu dynasty retires to Prabhas. This chapter describes how Brahma and other demigods after offering prayers to Lord Sri Krishna, requested the Lord to return to his own abode and how Uddhava, anticipating separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was very distressed and prayed to Sri Krishna that he might accompany him on his return to that abode. Desiring to see Sri Krishna in his human like form, which enchants all the worlds, the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Rishis, Pitas, Vidyadhara, Kinnara, and other demigods, all headed by Brahma, Shiva, and Indra, arrived at the city of Dwarka. Covering the body of Krishna with flower garlands from the Nandana garden of heaven, they praised him with statements about his transcendental power and qualities. All living entities, beginning with Brahma, are subordinate to Lord Sri Krishna. Krishna creates the universe by empowering his expansion, Mahavishnu. Although Krishna creates, maintains, and destroys this world through his material energy, he remains transcendental to the material energy and perfectly self satisfied. Even in the midst of his 16,000 queens, Lord Krishna is undisturbed. Performers of ritu sacrifices and yogis desiring mystic power contemplate the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna to attain their materialistic objectives, but the most elevated devotees who desire liberation from the bondage of material work lovingly contemplate the Lord's lotus like feet because those feet are the fire that destroys all desires for sense gratification. One cannot actually purify the mind by ordinary worship, penance, and other such processes. One can purify the mind contaminated by sense gratification only through mature faith in the mode of goodness, which arises by hearing the glories of Krishna. Therefore, intelligent persons situated in the Varnashram system serve the two kinds of holy places: the nectarian river of the topics of Krishna and the nectarian river flowing from the Lord's lotus feet. By incarnating within the Yadu dynasty, Krishna performed the highest welfare work for the entire universe by displaying his transcendental pastimes. Simply by hearing and chanting about this pastime, pious persons in Kali Yuga can definitely cross over the ocean of material illusion. When the Lord had fulfilled the purpose of his descent and the Yadu dynasty was facing imminent destruction from the Brahmana's curse, the Lord desired to wind up his pastimes. When Brahma prayed to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna for the deliverance of himself and all the other demigods, Sri Krishna revealed in his reply that after the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, he would return to his own abode. Observing terrible disturbances indicating the imminent destruction of the world, Lord Krishna called together the wise members of the Yadu dynasty and reminded them of the Brahmana's curse. The Lord convinced them to go to Prabhasatirtha, where they could save themselves by the performance of ritual bathing, charity, and so on. The Yadus, in obedience to Krishna's desire, prepared to journey to Prabhas. Upon seeing and hearing the Lord's conversation with the Yadu dynasty, Uddhava approached Lord Shri Krishna in a secluded place, offered him full obeisances, and with folded hands expressed his inability to tolerate separation from the Lord. He begged Krishna to carry him to his own abode. If one tastes the nectar of Krishna's pastime with his ears, one loses all hankering for other things. Persons who engage constantly in Krishna's service while eating, sporting, sleeping, sitting, etc., cannot tolerate separation from Krishna. They honor all kinds of remnants from Sri Krishna and thus conquer the Lord's illusory energy. Peaceful members of the renounced order attain Brahmaloka after exhaustive and painful exertion, whereas the devotees of the Lord simply discuss Lord Krishna among themselves, chant and remember his various pastimes and instructions, and thus automatically cross beyond the insurmountable material energy. Hare Krishna. So, ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So we have just at the end of the 5th chapter and we are beginning with the 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. So in the end of the 5th chapter of Bhagavatam, I will just read it again so that we can understand what we have discussed. Here, Shri Shukdev Goswami said, having heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudev was completely struck with wonder. Thus he and his most blessed wife gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. Now, what was the anxiety in the hearts of Vasudeva and Devaki? And why Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder? These are the two important things that are the main aspect of today's discussion. Now, it is mentioned that Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder. The reason is that Vasudeva, he started the narration with Narada by saying that even though Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, but by considering him to be my son, I have not taken advantage of properly worshipping him. And in that way he was lamenting that how unfortunate I am that I didn't worship Krishna. By Vishnu's Maya potency, I was completely bewildered by not realizing that who Krishna actually is. And in that sense, Vasudeva was saying that I have wasted my whole life in one sense. Now, hearing this thing, one may realize how is it possible that Vasudeva wasted his life? Because he considered Krishna to be his own son. Even here it is said to Devaki was also considered a blessed wife. Blessed wife in the sense, she is the most fortunate one. Both Vasudeva and Devaki, Shukdev Goswami describe as the most fortunate people. Why? Because the Supreme Person of Godhead has appeared as their own son. In general, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajyate ante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Means, at the time of death, whatever kind of consciousness we have, whatever things we remember or contemplate upon at the time of death, we are sure to attain that position which we have contemplated at the time of death. Sada tad bhava bhavita. We attain that same bhava in our next life. So let's say at the time of death, if you are remembering not God, but let's say your favorite personality, let's say your husband, your wife, your son, your parents or whoever, at the time of death if you remember them, naturally the next birth will be a same material body, so that one can attain the required bhava. Sometimes people say at the time of death, they may say that, oh, I was so much fed up with this situation, let me take birth in some other place. Yes, you will be given that kind of facility. Your desires will be fulfilled by attaining that place where you desire to take birth. But according to your karma, you may be born as a cockroach, a rat, a dog, whatever. So, our next birth depends on two things: our desires, which we have cultivated in our whole life, and second, the karma. Whatever karma we had in our this life, this, according to the merit of the karma, we will get a special type of body to enjoy that desire. So, generally, a materialistic person think about his own family and kinsmen at the time of death. But what if your own family member is Krishna? What if your own son and daughter or whoever is Krishna or Krishna's incarnation? So just imagine, by just remembering his own son, who was given a name Narayana by Ajamil, he attained the highest destination. He didn't even remember Lord Narayan, but he just called out the name of Lord Narayan, which happened to be the name of his own son. Still he achieved the highest destination. What if own son is Narayan? So here it is mentioned that Vasudeva was thinking that I have not utilized by worshipping Lord Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was thinking to be unfortunate. Shukdev Goswami is saying, no, you are most fortunate, because being Krishna as your son, you have naturally remembered always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And hearing this thing, which is the perfection, this kind of situation is perfection of the life, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. He was thinking, oh, is it? I was thinking I wasted my life because I was fully absorbed in my family attachment. But here, Shukdev Goswami is saying, no, you are very fortunate. And hearing this statement, Vasudeva and Devaki become struck with wonder. So that is how this is how the difference is with bhakti and material life. Even the devotees appear to perform materialistic activities, just like going to the job, doing their own business, taking care of the household activity. Even the materialistic person do the same thing. But the devotee does it for Krishna, for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna, whereas materialistic person do it for their own selfish desires. And because of which, when a devotee leave his body, he attains supreme perfection, whereas a materialistic person again have to take birth in this material world. That is how we spiritualize the things. So Vasudeva was thinking, I was so attached to my family life. As a householder, I have not worshipped Krishna, which I am supposed to worship. But Shukdev Goswami is saying, no, you have actually worshipped Krishna. And that is what led to the wonder, or the vismitaha. The word came, the vismitaha. He was thinking that, oh, because Krishna was my son, I was relieved from such kind of anxiety. And therefore it is said, thus he, means Vasudeva, and his most blessed wife Devaki gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. So because of which, the anxiety that was there in the heart, they were thinking, oh, we have wasted our life. It is said that it is not like that. They have given up all the anxiety here. So Shukdev Goswami, by narrating all these incidents, he says, those who meditates on this historical narration with fixed attention will purify himself of all contamination in his life. So whoever hears this pastime, this incident, or this question answer between Narada and Vasudeva, he will be purified from all contamination. Now, what is the contamination in the mind of the person? The contamination is that thinking that I, I am the supreme controller of my life. I am the Ishvara of my whole existence. But by reading and hearing this pastime, one understand the actual aim of the human form of life and how to attain the spiritual destination. So in this way, Shukdev Goswami gives the Shruti Phala. Shruti Phala means what the benefits you will get by hearing this pastime is described here. Generally, devotees doesn't desire any material benefits, but of course, the benefit of spiritual things are expected. So, is it true that devotees should not ask any benefit from the Lord? Yes, devotees generally don't ask any benefit from the Lord. They don't ask or demand anything from the Lord. But that doesn't mean they cannot ask. It is an etiquette for a devotee not to ask, but that doesn't mean that he is barred from asking anything from the Lord. If a devotee wants anything, he should approach the Supreme Lord. If a devotee wants something, he should approach the Supreme Lord. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. A person, he may have no desire, or he may have all the desires, or he may desire a liberation. He just have to worship the Supreme Lord, and all the things are taken care of. So, just like a child should not ask anything from the neighbors, just like sometimes parents don't give their children whatever they demand, because parents think that that these things may be harmful for my child. So generally we see the child goes to their relatives like their uncle, their aunt, and they demand like chocolates or toys and something like that. So the parents doesn't like it. But at the same time, ideally a child should not ask anything from their uncle and aunt. Even if he wants something, even if he wants, he should ask to his own parents, rather than going outside and demand and asking other people, oh, give me something because my parents are not providing me. That is a insult to the parent. So that's why the devotee never approaches any other demigods or any special favor from any other person other than Krishna. Even if he have any desire, he will still go to Krishna. And Krishna, understanding the welfare of his own devotee, will provide whatever is needful. Krishna provides whatever is needful, but Krishna doesn't provide what you want. Krishna doesn't provide what you want, Krishna provide what you need. So there is a difference. Sometimes we think, oh Krishna, if you give me a big house, then I will do bhakti nicely. Sometimes we think, oh Krishna, if you give me some big material opulence, then I can worship you nicely. But Krishna knows, if you get a big house, if you get a good opulence, will it help you in your bhakti or will it spoil you in your spiritual life? Krishna knows better than you. So many times people say that why Krishna is not fulfilling my desire? Why Krishna is not helping me? I am doing this only to practice his bhakti. I am asking all these things just to do his own service. Why he is not helping me? So sometimes people may think like that. But Krishna knows that real intention behind your that desire. And generally when Krishna sees that it will not help in your bhakti, Krishna will never provide you that desire. So that is the difference between worshipping Devatas and worshipping the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that's how this chapter ends here. So since we were at the chapter 6 starts with a summary of the whole chapter. And here it is described that how the destruction of the Yadu family takes place. Yadu family's destruction takes place at a pilgrimage place called Prabhas. Now, again, with this chapter, many times people have a question which is very commonly asked by the people, that why did Lord Krishna end his manifest pastime with such a ghastly warfare by destroying his own dynasty? Why? Why this event happened, and especially why this happened with the devotees of the Lord? Sometimes we see that devotees of Krishna are going through lot of material problems, and sometimes they are killed also. I remember I heard one of the lecture from my spiritual master. He was explaining one of the great Prabhupada disciple, a Mataji. I don't remember her name, but she was preaching Krishna consciousness in one of the African countries, and at that time there was a military regime change, and because of that, those people, the local military people, were killing the many foreign people there. So since this Mataji is an American born, and she was preaching there, and they wanted to dismantle the whole ISKCON temple there. So so everyone was taken as a captivity. So she was standing very firm in front of that military dictator, and she was not relenting at all. And this military dictator was threatening to kill all of them. She said, "You have to kill me before you can harm these devotees." And what happened? That military dictator shot that Mataji. She died at the very instant. And then he later shot all the other devotees, killed everyone. So after hearing this news, this incident, many people faith was shaken. They were thinking, why Krishna allowed his devotees to die in such a unceremonious way? Generally, we desire that our devotees should die in the association for devotees, chanting and hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Why Krishna is allowing his devotees to die in such a ghastly way? So people have their own imagination about how they should leave this world. But we should understand that Krishna has his own plan. Generally, when devotee goes through trouble, it is because of two reasons. When a pure devotee goes through a difficulty, it is for his glorification. And when a new devotee goes through a trouble, it is for his own purification. So there are two kinds of devotees we generally see. One is pure devotee, and other is practicing devotee. A practicing devotee is having difficulty in his life is because of his own karma. So Lord want to purify him. That's why the practicing devotee goes through difficulty. But sometimes we see even a pure devotee goes through difficulty. And the reason is Krishna want to glorify that devotee. Just like Prabhupada, so much difficulties in his life. Just to preach Krishna consciousness, he had to endeavor so much. And when we see why Krishna is doing this thing with his pure devotee. But after so many years, when we go back in the history of how Prabhupada struggled for 40 years for preaching Krishna consciousness, we see those things as his glory. We see those things as his as legacy. So, pure devotee, when he goes through difficulty, it is for his own glorification. That's how Krishna want to glorify his devotees. So, similarly, everywhere, wherever we see there are difficulties in the life of the spiritual personalities, whether they are devotees or some other spiritual personalities. It is because Krishna have certain plans. Similarly, the Yadu dynasty, Krishna wanted to show this world certain important lessons, and for which he enacted this Leela in front of the world. Now, why Yadu dynasty, why Krishna did what he did with Yadu dynasty? So, there are two kind of people in this world. One, the devotees, and other, non-devotees. Generally, when devotees hear such pastimes, they are, it is said, Shukdev Goswami says, by hearing this pastime, one gets purified. By hearing this pastime, one remembers Krishna and his own and his glories. By hearing this pastime, one understands how the devotees are so surrendered to the Supreme Lord and his will. And in that way, devotees feel inspired to practice Krishna consciousness. Okay? And second, to non-devotees, Krishna, in the same Bhagavatam, previous chapter, Shukdev Goswami was saying, there were people like Shishupal, Dantavakra, Duryodhana, and all these enemies of Krishna like Jarasandha, Kamsa. All of these people were completely against Krishna. And let us take an example of Shishupal. Now Shishupal is said that he was thinking of Krishna in an animos way, in an inimical way. So much animosity he was having for Krishna that right from getting up from the bed, he used to always criticize Krishna. Whole day he used to speak against Krishna. He was saying, "Oh, what Krishna did? He's just a cowherd boy. He's not even a kshatriya. He doesn't know who he actually is. And he cheated so many cowherd girls. He performed magical feats in Vrindavan and mesmerized those people and cheated those people. And in this way, he used to speak everything against Krishna, but still he was speaking about Krishna. And by speaking about Krishna, whether favorably or unfavorably, still he was getting purified. So that is how Krishna tricks the atheistic or non-devotees people. Krishna performs certain pastime so as to bewilder atheistic class of people, so that by such pastimes even the atheist who anyway will not think about Krishna will try to find fault with Krishna's pastime in this way. Just like we see certain atheists says, "Oh, we don't believe Krishna is the Supreme Lord because see how the things has happened. His own dynasty got killed and he couldn't do anything. Oh, Krishna has to suffer his own karma because he was responsible for Mahabharata war. He was cursed by Gandhari to die. That's how Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is also within the purview of karmic reaction." So in that way, speaking against Krishna, still they are speaking about Krishna. And it is said, Srimad Bhagavatam said that whatever way is possible, just remember Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So that is how a devotee should always think about. So here Krishna is performing this last and final pastime of his Leela by removing all the Yadu dynasty people from the face of this world. So who were? So we should not think about the Yadus. One should not think that Krishna was failed in his pastimes. One should not think that his family was destroyed because of curse. One should not think that, oh, even by worshipping Krishna, his devotees are not protected, so why should we worship Krishna? One should never think like that. First of all, understand who Yadus really are. Why Krishna performed this pastime? The first is we have to understand the one truth that Yadus were not ordinary people. They are not conditioned soul like us. They all are, it is said, Srila Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, first chapter, that Yadus were eternal associates of the Lord and empowered expansions of demigods and devotees. So all these Yadus were eternal associates of the Lord. They are not ordinary people. So they are born in Krishna's family. They were personally associating with him. Krishna is performing personal pastimes with all these Yadu members. Krishna was personally protecting these Yadus, and they are participating in his Leela. So how is it possible that those who are born in Krishna's family, those who are personally protected by Krishna, will die such an unceremonious death? It is not possible. So why it has happened? Why this has happened? Because it was the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Again, understand. When the Lord finishes his earthly drama, the actor must also leave the stage, Prabhupada writes. What does it mean? Just like a king leaves a city, just like when a king leaves a city, his royal entourage also leaves. Similarly, Krishna, when he finished his pastime, there need to have some reason by which his other associate will also go back home, back to Godhead. So in order to wind up his pastime, he just enacted this Leela so that his associates can be taken back to the spiritual world. But we have to learn something. Of course, in the background we understand it was Krishna Leela, but again, whatever Krishna performs is, first reason is, he wanted to show certain guiding principle to the human society. He wanted to establish certain dharmic principle in the society. And the first is, Krishna is teaching from this pastime is that there is a subtle danger. And what is that danger? A familiarity with the God. There is a word called, or a saying is, familiarity breed contempts. What does it mean? If you are in association with a very great personality, and you become too familiar with that person, it is quite possible that with this familiarity you will start showing disrespect to that person. Generally, with the constant proximity with such great personality, you tend to demonize his presence. You tend to take his presence granted. Just like there was one Prabhupada disciple who was saying, when Prabhupada was in this world, we used to always think, oh, Prabhupada will always be there with us. And they used to think, oh, Prabhupada will come, he is going to some place and he will come again. Then we can again hear his class. And in that way, even when Prabhupada were present in this world, he was saying that I have never taken his association very seriously. I was thinking that I am always there with him. I am always serving for him. So what is the need for my hankering for his association? But when Prabhupada left this world, then he started to realize, he was saying that now I realize what I have missed from this world. So similarly, generally a constant proximity with a great personality tends to familiarity. And because of this familiarity, what happens? There is sometimes called as subtle pride that may come. Just imagine, you got a personal seva of your Guru Maharaj. And with that personal seva, and only you are getting that personal seva of the Guru Maharaj, there is a subtle sense of pride that comes. Oh, among all so many disciples of my Guru Maharaj, I am such a fortunate one that I received this wonderful seva. how fortunate I am. And slowly, slowly, a subtle pride comes in the heart. And when such pride comes in the heart, what happens? We tend to demean other devotees by thinking, oh, because I am advanced devotee, because I am so dear to my Guru Maharaj, that's why I am being favored so much. Whereas this devotee, oh, he is not that kind of advanced. Oh, this devotee is not very surrendered to Guru Maharaj as I am. And in this way, there is a tendency of pride. And with pride comes a sense of, what to say, a sense of judging others or criticizing others. And when we start judging and criticizing others, naturally, eventually, it will lead to downfall of the person. So, since Yadus were always in constant proximity of the Supreme Lord Krishna, they become so intoxicated that they even try to joke with the Brahmanas, with the devotees of Krishna. So at the Prabhas Kshetra, not Prabhas Kshetra, there was a place near Prabhas. They went there. There was a great assembly of the sages. And these Yadus, especially the son of Krishna, one of the son of Krishna, his name was Samba. The Samba, thinking that, oh, let us make fun of the sages. They say there are so many sages. Now, who are the sages? They are sages, not ordinary people. There was Narada, Durvasa, Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, Agastya. Such great, great sages were assembled at that place. And these boys, because they were thinking that we are connected with Krishna, they thought we can do anything, we can do any mischief and we can get away. So they approached the sages and started try to make joke with them. And what happened in return? The Brahmanas cursed them. So what lesson we can learn from it? The lesson is that just being in close proximity with an exalted person, don't think that we are free from the laws of material nature. It will still act. Don't think that since I have become such a senior devotee now Maya will not touch me. No, it will touch you. The more you become a senior devotee, you have to be very, very careful. We have to understand that Maya is always behind devotees of the Lord. And with the senior devotees, Maya does overtime with the devotee. Maya makes sure that he will get distracted. So if we become too much get into this that now I am become a senior devotee, now I am a very exalted devotee. Understand that you are the biggest target for Maya at present. And a small mistake can lead to the downfall. So, since Krishna's personal associates, Yadus, they are in such a proximity that because they have neglected the basic etiquette of respect to the Brahmanical culture, they were cursed. And what was the curse given? The curse was, let all the Yadus get destroyed because they have disrespected the Brahmanas. So, from this case, we can learn many other incidents and stories, but the simple thing which I like to conclude in this pastime is that Yadus were not ordinary people. Whatever has happened, it was the plan of the Supreme Lord. It was a plan of the Supreme Lord to teach the common people the basic etiquettes that need to be followed. Even though you may be a very great person, you have to follow the laws of material nature. And in that way, not take the things for granted and be careful of the material energy. Hare Krishna. I hope there are no questions, only comments are expected. ओके, हरे कृष्णा। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण